So we're back with a good friend of the show, Josh Klein from Breitbart. He's always been very helpful in giving us kind of an understanding from a journalist's point of view, but also from the Middle Eastern point of view. Josh, thank you tonight. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always great to be back.
Well, let's just go down the list. You and I were talking. Thoughts on the Board of Peace in Gaza? Let's get that one out of the way. What do you think on what's going down in Davos?
Yes, I mean, obviously it was announced today. I mean, the makeup of the board in and of itself is kind of interesting. I mean, you're not really seeing any Western countries really involved,
Yeah.
which I think is for a couple of reasons. First, I think they're a little bit reluctant the way that the board is being viewed, whether this is limited to Gaza or kind of more an alternative to the UN and a longer term kind of operation that Trump's trying to pull.
Yeah.
In their view. And also the people that are sitting on the board. I mean, Russia, Belarus, a lot of countries that I guess the Western bloc of Europe, I'm sorry, would really not rather be involved with. But really, the most important thing is where is this going? And I think even Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, laid out the new Gaza plan today. A whole vision for rebuilding it. But everything, again, he said, is contingent on Hamas disarming, demilitarizing. And I mean, from all the people I've spoken to in Israel and other analysts, they just don't see it happening. I mean, they just don't see Hamas literally just handing over their weapons. And everything is really contingent on that moving forward. So, I mean, Israel is definitely concerned about Qatar on the board, Turkey on the board, and having any sort of influence within Gaza in and of itself. That they even put out statements to that effect earlier in the week. But basically, they view it as better to have a seat and try and influence it from within, and ultimately, really, with the belief that it's going to come down to the IDF really having to do another round of operations within Gaza. There's talk of actually that being planned for March, and really doing it. I mean, I don't see the ISF, the International Stabilization Force, or any other country that's going to willingly want to fight, urban battles against Hamas. So I think the board, I think it's an interesting concept and idea. But it's a framework that really even America admitted, and then, as I said before, Kushner admitted, would only come into fruition really at the next stage, which requires Hamas to be gone. So see where this goes, and I think Israel's also taking a wait and see approach.
Well, I think you're right, and I've said this on the show that I think Trump's building an alternative to the UN. I mean, it's against China, in my opinion, because the UN is infiltrated, and that's well known. And so I think Trump's going around it. So it should be interesting to watch. You mentioned
really quick on that.
Yeah,
he is offering. I mean, there's these reports with this $1 billion fee that people can pay to have a permanent seat on there. Right now, the mandate, at least I think according to the UN, is till 2027. So I mean, basically, that's kind of hinting at this is really an alternative to the UN, because this would be obviously past Trump's term in office. So that goes back to the concerns before. But in a way, I think actually Trump is onto something, that the UN really is useless and has proven itself to be useless in managing these types of conflicts properly. So it's interesting.
Not even just useless, but nefarious.
Exactly.
That's exactly. As far as Qatar, Turkey, you mentioned Turkey. Turkey's a rising power in the Middle East, and we may have talked about this before, but they seem to be looking for a confrontation with Israel. What do you think? That's my sense.
Yeah, I mean, Israel's really watching this and very nervous about it. And talk about Turkey again. That goes back to the Board of Peace. I mean, and they're trying to get a foothold in Gaza. But we're seeing this in a lot of places. First, I'll start with Lebanon, and then also this alignment with Syria that's going on. And keep in mind that Turkey is a member of NATO, and and has a huge military. So that's always kind of forgotten by people that it's kind of lumped into another category, but it's a NATO member.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, right now we're seeing in Lebanon like huge movement and things that really are not getting the proper attention that we were discussing before. In northeastern Iran, which the Kurdish controlled region. Right now, Ahmed al-Shara, who's the head of HTS, which is now the president of Lebanon, I mean, they officially made this ceasefire deal, but we're literally seeing massacres. Videos of it came out today of women's hairs, being cut off. There's serious prisons over there too, by the way. I mean, there's so much to get into, but there's also ISIS prisons that were being guarded by, the Kurds, and unfortunately, a decent amount of ISIS people did escape. I think they got most of them back, but yeah, I mean, overall, this is really seen as a big betrayal by the Kurdish people. The Kurds were very instrumental in helping the U.S. originally get rid of, ISIS in Lebanon, and they see this deal right now with Shara and creating territorial integrity at the expense of their own region, their own language, and this also goes to the protection of Christians in the area. So I mean, and this is all again. So this swings back to Turkey, because Turkey really wants to see. They hate the Kurds. This issue, the Kurds. It's a threat to them within. They see it as a threat to them within Syria itself, the PKK. So they really just want to kill all independents and gain a foothold and control within Syria itself, in Lebanon. I'm sorry. And then lastly, just really quickly, there's been Saudi Arabia has kind of really also gone to a very far extreme over the past month or so, cutting defense deals with Pakistan, with Egypt, with Somalia, and now Turkey is actually really interested in getting involved with Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and getting involved with these mutual defense pacts. And this all gets so complicated because Turkey is a member of NATO. So it's beyond something to keep an eye on. It's stuff that's already in development. So there's so many moving parts right now in the Middle East. I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned the Christians in Syria, but the Christians in Lebanon are worried about this Sunni influence as well, because they have 2 million Sunni Syrian refugees from the Assad civil war that won't go back, and they're being paid to stay by the UN and other NGOs out of Europe. So it creates chaos across the cultures. And yes, it's obvious the U.S. has made a deal with Turkey to solve the Kurdish problem, which is very reminiscent of solving the Armenian problem back 100 years ago. So it's fascinating to watch. And I'm not a big fan of Tom Barrack. I've said that many times. What about Lebanon? Hezbollah in the south is still a real issue. Israel is still dealing with the weapons stores and the manufacturing plants, and all of that is still there. So what do you see happening there?
So that's really interesting. And that also we could see, I mean, I'm hearing from sources that some of it was publicly announced a month ago that Israel was preparing for a major military operation within Lebanon to really just wipe out Hezbollah once and for all. Even the Syrian government, Michel Aoun, the president, they actually want this too. The Syrian government clearly is, and they admit pretty much themselves that they're incapable of really disarming Hezbollah themselves. So actually, this also plays into the Iran angle. So there could be, originally Israel was not afraid, but concerned if they took military action against Hezbollah that Iran would then retaliate. So right now this is getting very interesting, obviously, with the U.S. moving major assets into the region. I mean, we could literally see some action. The first action people think can be, which is the U.S. maybe taking imminent action against Iran, but this buildup can also be a huge deterrent and an opportunity for Israel to immediately take action. I'm talking in a week or two or less, against Hezbollah in Lebanon, utilizing the U.S.'s presence in the region to deter Iran and allow Israel complete, autonomy to really finish off Hezbollah, and which then again weakens Iran at the same time. So it's like so many interesting calculations and timings of what's going to take place, and I think we're going to see some things taking place very imminently from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, we're watching, and in fact, I'm going to be in Beirut in a few weeks, so maybe that timing is going to be interesting. We'll see.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. We're going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Yemen is quiet. Has that been, I guess, not solved, but it has been pacified, maybe? What do you think?
No, I mean, it's not solved, that's for sure. And Iran is definitely, if there's going to be an all-out, conflict, they're definitely going to activate the Houthis, who are based out of Yemen. So Israel also, I mean, it wasn't done for these reasons in and of itself, but it definitely assists in it. Also, another issue that kind of went under the radar but was huge, on December 26, Israel recognized, the first country to recognize something called Somaliland, which is, so it's a region within, people had to really study this issue again. Somaliland, what is that? Somaliland is actually a very stable country now recognized by Israel, the first one. It's originally was united with Somalia. It's got a very long history, but it's extraordinarily stable, but it's very strategically located, literally, I think less than 99 miles away from Yemen. So that allows Israel to, for the first time, to have real sight on the Houthis, the ability to respond much quicker, to set up radar installations within Somaliland. So all these moving parts and the timing of it, I don't think are so coincidental. But again, I think Somaliland in and of itself, in my opinion, definitely deserves to be recognized as an independent country, regardless of any other factors. I mean, they're a very stable, a stable region. Ted Cruz, for example, is a huge proponent of that. There's a lot of Republicans that have been pushing over the past year for Trump to recognize Somaliland's independence, and we'll see where that takes, where that goes. But that does play into Yemen, the Houthis, and a lot of moving parts that have, as I mentioned before, that are just taking place with a much bigger picture clearly in mind, which is ultimately the downfall of Iran.
Yeah. What about the internal politics of Israel? Is what's going on there? Obviously, the war has kind of masked everything, but what's happening inside the country?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So, I mean, right now, Israel, even if the government doesn't fall for any reason, I mean, elections are this October, and election season in Israel always starts 90 days beforehand. So we're pretty much already in an election season. So that's a huge aspect of it. So, yeah, there's a lot of internal political. I mean, it's just a reality. It's just election time in Israel. It's just a matter of it's going to be in October earlier. Again, I don't think these moves or anything are being made from a political perspective. I mean, I think this is just an alignment that's literally once and like a century opportunity to realign the Middle East and create a new order. Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical that the Prime Minister of Israel, which clearly has a very good relationship with the President of America, Trump, to see things through to stabilize the region. This really can be just a earth-shattering moment in the Middle East. I mean, we're on the cusp of it, and this has always been the Prime Minister is for 20 years, Iran was, his ultimate goal to really see that, fall, and that would then have a stabilizing effect on the entire region. So hopefully there'll be enough political space to do that, but I think there will be. There's not really any disputes within the parties, even right or left, as far as this bigger picture. So I think that things are stable enough and within each of the parties' interests to at least see this moment through, so that there's agreement on that. And the time frame of the elections will be, either in October or if something happens sooner. But yeah, as of now, I think things are pretty stable, and we should see it by October. And then, really, depending on how all this plays out, will also play out into the election. So it's so a lot of interconnected aspects, and things are going to get interesting.
What do you hear about on the ground in Iran now that we're talking about that? You and I have talked offline about this, but do you see the demonstrations have somewhat calmed down? Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, they calmed down. I mean, because the Iranians mowed them down. But I mean, the numbers, you're seeing the same information I am, 12, 20,000 killed, literally probably a 48-hour period. So, yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental ingredients that led to this uprising, nothing changed in that regard. I mean, if anything, it's just going to get, tougher for the regime, regardless military action taken or not. I mean, these were, real protests. I mean, over a collapsing economy. I mean, people just they see the regime as corrupt. I mean, one of the slogans was, not, what was it? Not Gaza, not Lebanon, just for Iran, like meaning like the regime has spent so much money on, these proxies and the other issue, except dealing with the people itself. I mean, they don't have electricity, they don't have water. I mean, to the fact where Tehran was even thinking, even before all this, a few months ago, of moving its capital because of the water crisis and how mismanaged the entire regime is. And primarily just because of their stubbornness, not, over having nuclear weapons or funding proxies, everything except, providing for the Iranian people. And they've woken up into it. And I just think there's no going back, regardless of how many people they mowed down. So I think, the regime is going to fall. I think everyone agrees on that. It's not if, but a question of when. So that's we'll see how things are going to play out imminently, whether that's military action of very soon, what that'll mean. So, So yeah, it's died out in the sense of having 100,000 to 1 million, whatever the number was, on the streets itself. But right now, as we mentioned before, the military buildup, and that can revive the movement and put real teeth into Trump's prior threats. We might see a big uprising again very, very soon. Very soon, actually.
Interesting. Well, those are all my questions. Is there anything else you wanted to get out?
I think we can probably go on all night. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm more than happy to, but I'm sure we both can use some good sleep. But because there's probably a lot more serious things to come of what we just spoke about.
Right.
A lot of things are looking like we're going to be seeing a lot of action taking place, and a lot of world-changing events happening. So yeah, I'd love to talk about it and continue to talk about it as things do unfold over the next days and weeks. And I believe we will see them unfolding very imminently.
Well, we'll do that. We'll have you back as soon as something drops. Josh, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. Let you get some sleep.
Yeah, my pleasure. You too. You deserve it.
Take care.
Thanks so much.